B.D. Mukai and his wife Kuni arrived on Vashon Island with goals of achieving the American dream. The home they built in 1927, a typical rural farmhouse, symbolizes these aspirations. Soon after, Kuni, wishing to retain a link to their ancestral land, designed a traditional Japanese garden at the site.
It's very unusual for a woman to have even been allowed to know very much about Japanese gardening, and she was able to obtain materials from Japan, studied them, learned what the rules are of Japanese gardening and the themes and ideas that go into the designs, and was able to create a small but very intricate Japanese stroll garden.
Together, the house and garden represent the blending of two cultures. The garden landscape is especially notable as the only known Japanese garden of this era designed by a woman.
The husband, B.D. Mukai, is very significant in his own right. He created and developed the largest strawberry distribution service at the time during the 1920s and 30s. So he was incredibly successful, and his wife was not out picking strawberries as most farm wives were doing. She was dreaming of a Japanese garden, and she made that dream come true, and he supported that dream.
Over 12 years ago, a local nonprofit utilized state and county funds to acquire the property with the mandate of maintaining the site, providing public access, and interpreting the Mukai family story within the context of the Japanese-American experience. Since that time, the capacity of the organization to provide the required stewardship for the site has been called into question.
The house is showing signs of deterioration. Some are quite obvious. You can see that the roof has been covered with plastic. Over the years, plants have died. Some of the hardier things have survived. There's one last surviving cherry tree that was planted by the Mukais, and that was something the property was quite well known for.
Local advocates have engaged in legal efforts and are preparing long-term stewardship plans.
A group of islanders started a new organization called Friends of Mukai, and that's the organization that has a garden committee and a home committee, and we're working to set up a business plan, and we want to be ready to help do whatever we can to save the property. We just want to see the original promise of the property realized.
The state, meanwhile, has made inquiries to determine if compliance with the terms of an easement in place for the property have been met.
And we're talking about over $400,000 that was collected to purchase the property, and then have about $100,000 or $150,000 left over from that collection. There hasn't been the kind of restoration that one would expect to find. There are still people on the island that remember things about this garden, and we're hoping that we'll be able to bring it back.
It's a total challenge to work on the property without being able to get on it. We're still working to come up with some date where we can get on and go and survey it. Just walk around and take a look and see what plants are still here and what plants aren't.
And our hope is to have an educational program, first of all, to have a cultural interpretation center, and to use a very small portion of the property here to recreate some of that farming that the Mukai family and many, many other Japanese Americans participated in throughout most of the 20th century.
There are a lot of people on the island who care about it, have watched it decline over the last 10, 15 years. Our ultimate goal is to have it be a community resource. So it's really frustrating because it was public money that was used to buy it. There's so much potential for this place. It could be such an amazing community resource.